Hello, this is Dr. Jason Munsell. It is 12:42 Central Time. Hope all is well with you over there in Columbia or Houston or wherever you might be across this great land of ours, or this globe or this universe. Perhaps some of you are on another planet. I know some of you are. But in any case, what I wanted to do today, hopefully this will be somewhat quick. I'm not quite sure. We will see, and then I know my lesson now, hopefully. I want to cover the rest of chapter 1. This is our first week, obviously, and the week is about over. We have 8 weeks, and I know you're still getting your feet wet, so some of you are a little bit AWOL, like 3 I haven't heard from, I think. And I'm still trying to find a lot of Twitters and accounts and Tumblr accounts, but some of you I know are there. I just haven't been able to find you. The easiest way, again, is for you to send me the link to the actual. If I was sort of searching for you, I could find you. Send me that link, and then hopefully I can share all that stuff on KC, so we can follow each other and see what each other has to say, and comment on, et cetera, et cetera. All sort of discussion stuff to engage you and help you learn the material, contact hours, and all that type of stuff, since this is an online class. If you have not noticed yet. Also, I emailed you this morning. Again, I'll be, you have till Sunday to do the first Twitter and Tumblr stuff, and I'm going to give you a little bit, a few pointers. Maybe, yes, today. So I need to get to it. If you can't see this, and I have put this PowerPoint on KC now, and I'm back in the my niece's playroom here in Tulsa. We got Secretary Clinton. We got Donald Trump. So I'm going to try to apply some of this stuff from the latter part of chapter 1 to our current political situation. Maybe. We shall see. Yes, I will. Okay. We left off with the context stuff, talking about the postmodern condition and all that type of stuff. Hopefully you looked at that. I love that little extra video. It's really cool. It's funky. And so we start with the whole defining persuasion. And so that is the next thing. So finally we are to what is persuasion. And there are lots of different perspectives. There is no one set definition of persuasion. If that's what you're looking for, realize that we live in a postmodern condition. Things are messier than that. And I've also put an extra handout on KC if you want to look a little in the assumptions of humanism and social science. But what our author does here is goes back to Aristotle, talks about, in a sense, or implies ethos, pathos, and logos, the 5 canons of rhetoric, stuff that I teach in Com 100. And then he also talks about, that's much more sort of a rational perspective. He also talks about Wallace Fotheringham. I love that. That's my favorite type of ham, Fotheringham. I would like some Fotheringham and cheese, please. Hold the Wallace. He talks about the persuasion as that body of effects and receivers relevant and instruments to source desired goals, blah, 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 blah. So all about, what stuff does to the receiver. So it's a much more sort of a psychological point of view. And we'll see a lot of both humanistic and psychological theories when we cover chapter 2 next week. And then they draw on Burke. So they talk about Kenneth Burke. Kenneth Burke is very, very important here. The idea of identification is very, very important here. All this stuff is really, really important here. Everything in this, every syntax except is very, very important. But here is the big definition that they offer us. Persuasion is, and this is on page 17. Persuasion is the co-production of meaning. Co-production of meaning that results when an individual or a group of individuals uses language, strategies, and or other symbols like images, music, sounds to make audiences identify with that individual or group. Let's look more closely at that definition. And then they have the little figure 1, 1, blah, blah, blah. Identification is very, very important. So we got all this type of stuff. Oh, crap. Come on. I'm not identifying with this computer. There's lots of things in here that I'll let you read. But I think one of the most important things is the co-production of meaning. And that stuff I say on the top of page 18 is very, very important. So audience is very, very important. Audience. Because we work together, the persuader and the persuadee, to create this sense of a shared reality. So the audience is active. It's a process. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. We're building this stuff together. It's not like I watch a commercial and I go, oh, okay, I'm going to go buy some monkeys. No, I want monkeys. But it's not like we're not stupid. We co-produce all that type of stuff. So all that stuff is really, really interesting. I think the most important thing, they talk about Calvin McGee, but this idea, persuasion is not a simple cause-effect process in which a persuader combines evidence in a way that changes how an audience thinks. It is far more complicated today. Our definition acknowledges that complexity by including the audience member as an important component. Back in the day, we thought, okay, you got these strategies, and an audience, folks would just go, okay, I'm going to go do this then. But the world is more complicated than that. And so that co-production, very, very important. Also the idea of identification. Identification is, vibration has been detected. That's because this online lecture is rocking. Don't come a knocking. Vibration has been detected. So Burke is very, very important. Kenneth Burke, this idea of identification is very, very important. And so the persuader and the persuadee identify with one another. He actually used the term consubstantial. We are of one substance. We are of one. We are alike. We are family. La, 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 la. So that idea of identification is very, very important, and it talks about how Woodward, if you're having difficulty understanding what the term identification means, it's basically the same thing as common ground, same thing I associate with you, or associate with a brand, or associate with whatever, or I feel like I have a connection to this. So it's a shared bond between persuader and persuadee, and then that shared sense of reality. For instance, look at that. Go Tigers. I think they play tomorrow. The Super Regionals. Go Cox as well. Oh, crap. I can't say that. I know a lot of you are Gamecocks fan. My father graduated, got his doctorate at Oklahoma State. And so this is sort of oddly sad. But my mom is trying to figure out what to do with all his clothes. So I got my LSU shirt on. And so as I'm talking about the Super Regionals here, on this chair where I'm resting the iPad, we've got Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State, Cowboys, look at all this stuff. These are all my dad's shirts. So I'm going to say, go Pokes, beat the Cox. What do you think about that? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay, so in any case, okay, sorry. So this idea here is that, here's the point I was trying to make. Folks who are fans or associated with certain teams or colleges or whatever, if I am someplace like here, here, or I saw when I was back home in Columbia, I saw some dude walk into the Bilo, and he was wearing LSU stuff, and so I had to pass him by and say, "Go Tigers," and he goes, "Go Tigers." we were identifying with one another. We were consubstantial. We were one substance because we had that shared reality of go Tigers. But in any case, identification is very, very, very important. And there's lots of different ways that we can do it. There are 3 different ways that we can sort of do it or sort of explain how identification works. The first type is just sort of obvious, direct stuff. Politicians do this a lot. I'm like you, you are like me. I understand where you're coming from. I was born in humble situations too. Yeah, whatever. But in any case, I'll let you read more about that. But that's one way. Or it talks about Obama. You talking to college students. I know what you kids are talking about. All you guys see, I know. That's why I always try to identify with my audience, particularly the younger kids. Sorry, the folks like who are 17, 18, 19, and 20 by randomly talking about Taylor Swift or Katy Perry. I know nothing about these people. Well, I do have in 1989, but that's because they're rocks. But all my old 80s references are not working anymore for the younger generation. But they work for you, for a lot of you, so that's cool. Because then we identify with one another. We can also do antithesis, and that is we might not have a specific thing, well, we have some things in common, but we can demonize something else, like a third party. So we are one another because we hate this person over here. Look at the politics of today. Look at how some of the Republicans and the Democrats are coming together here and there to try to defeat Trump, or either Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Though Sanders, we'll see what happens. He doesn't seem to want to quit. This old man who says this. Oh, never mind. But in any case, so another type derives from situations in which it goes unnoticed, and so like the terms we all the way home. Do you know what the French Lotto said? We, all the way home. But in any case, so oftentimes we identify with one another, and it might be like just wearing a shirt, right? Or having a tattoo, and you see somebody else's tattoo. My wife and I were driving home from Atlanta the other day, and it was a Memorial Day weekend, and so we see all the bikers and everything like that, and they got their little thing where they sort of say hey to one another, so identify, or just, so yeah, there we go. So lots of stuff there. Identification is very, very important. Another thing that's really important, and this is in part from Woodward, but a lot of times folks think that the persuasion and all that stuff is just sort of words, and that was maybe back in the old days, maybe, I don't know, but we use all our senses, and so all of these things, and contemporary persuaders, what do they use? They use music, they use, which was an example, smell. I don't know, sometimes we associate certain things with smells, but all these different things, we use all our senses, and we can identify through all of our senses. So that's really important. It's not just about words. The words are very, very important. And so they talk about symbols. I'll let you read sort of the specifics of the, theoretically what symbols are. That's something that stand for something else. But so basically, all these different things, these different symbols, these different, whatever, visuals, blah, 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 all that type of stuff. It's about identification. So persuasion, in a sense, is a process of identification. It's more complicated than that, but they really sort of highlight this idea of identification, and they offer you this interesting internet activity, identifying with customers to learn more about how companies create identification. I'm sure you've already done this. You look at this and we have just described 3 types of identification that may occur between a persuader and an audience member. Log on to the website or Facebook page for one blah 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 blah. It may be a clothing company, a computer company, or the company for which you work, or it could be Donald Trump's website. It could be Hillary Clinton's website. How does the site use each of the 3 strategies of identification? Is a company effective in using the use of identification strategy? Why not? Ooh, that would be good for a blog. Or you could just tweet your answer.